Okay, today's video is going to be a super fun informational video, and we've got this Dead Nuts target here. It's not a sponsor of ours, they just sent us the target, and so we're going to use this and the technology that they have to go through two different scenarios. So we're going to go through, I'm going to take Chase, who is a brand new bow hunter, and we're going to shoot at this target, and then we're going to actually go through, see exactly where he hits, see exactly kind of the things that we can learn from this target system. And then on the second category that we go through, we're going to take and go through some of our old footage of where we've hit animals before, and like showing exactly where we hit them and looking at on the target, and then talking about the track job and how long it took, or how minimal blood loss, or all those things. And obviously there's going to be broadheads that are coming into play. There's going to be all these different things, but this is all about shot angles and shot placement. Going to go through that first, and then we also have a frontal elk down here that we're going to take you through and show you exactly where to hit that thoracic opening, what position that you want the elk to be, yardages that you should shoot it, shouldn't shoot it, all those things. So let's get started. Let's go through with Chase, and we're gonna talk about shot angles, and hopefully even me and everybody watching this, let's all try to learn something. So Chase has been bow hunting, or not bow hunting at all. He's been bow shooting, pretty much dots, right? Pretty much targets, right? So this is your first time actually shooting a animal other than 3D shoots we've been to, right? So yeah, so we're just gonna kind of go through the motions of differences in what it's like shooting a dot, shooting a target, shooting a range that you always know, right? Versus like out in the woods scenario, a real animal standing there, and a 3D real version.
Yeah, 7%.
So
I could add to that is that I think my advantage is that I've been in your guys' back pockets.
Sure.
So I've been watching for 5 years now, but I still don't have the exact concept of, I'm thinking of exit. I'm already kind of thinking of those things.
Sure, yeah. But at the same time, so bring all those things up, like when we're down there looking at, bring those things up like, I was thinking of this because of this. And we'll kind of all just kind of learn together. So, all right, so from everything that you've gained from just being in the woods with all of us, seeing all the films and everything, just shoot this animal where you think that you should shoot it. That wasn't bad. First, what I want to talk about is why did you pick that spot? Is this just where you thought, did it hit where you wanted it to first?
I would say I was probably aiming here.
Okay.
So I shot a little high.
And are you happy with that though?
Yeah.
So
again, my thought process is, again, just doing our videos, editing stuff. My guess is.
Okay.
So that was my guess. So. And then that's another thing, just of experience with being with you guys, is that I'd rather be high in my mind and get double lung than go low and miss, not get hard or something. Or
sure.
That's where my head was at.
So when you pulled back, what did you reference off of, or did you just put your pin in the middle of the elk?
I was going off of this kind of line.
So okay, so the shoulder blade line.
Shoulder blade line.
Okay, yeah. Which is great. That's all good stuff. So there's a couple ways to do it. So this elk, as you can see, it's just white, right? So there's no dot here, there's no spot to aim or anything like that. And so what you're gonna do is, like when you pull back on an animal, always reference, you were right, that shoulder blade. Because you gotta hit quite a bit forward through, but it will not penetrate. The shoulder blade is the armor of the front body of the elk.
So I guess if I'm trying to eyeball this line, see that, that curve there. So where would be my max, basically? Where am I going to hit that shoulder blade?
Yeah, so it's going to be further forward, and I'll grab out the app in just a second, and we'll go through and look at all that from where the arrow hit. But the other thing that I'm just wanting to kind of tell you, like, just because you're going to be into that hunting scenario at some point, like this whole thing, he could be wallowed up, and his whole body could be black, dark, just like this mane. He could be black. So just because you see a shoulder crease line now, it might not be there on something else. So a good reference is that front leg. So you see the back of his leg, right? Depending on his posture, how he's standing, if he's broadside, if he's quartered, however that looks, sometimes that's another key. I can take that front shoulder, okay, I can run right up off that front shoulder, and then I can make that shot to have a shot reference, right? Rather than just mid-body and let it rip, right? So every time that we shoot, we're picking a spot rather than picking a body, right?
Yeah.
So let's pull the app out and see what that says. Okay, so this is our elk. That's so cool, isn't it?
It's pretty wild.
So this is our arrow. You got to kind of make it so the arrow shows up, right? So that's middle of lungs.
Okay.
Right? So those big are lungs. Let's take away the bones. All right. It just doesn't show the arrow, does it? It kind of does.
Okay. So yeah, it's mid.
From the app, yes, that's mid lung. That's a great shot, right?
Okay.
And so if we just let's put the front shoulder back in there. See that front shoulder? So it's quite a ways forward, and it actually is quite a ways forward. You can see the bulge kind of it right in here. So it's right up in here, but it's easy when you're aiming here to hit here. You know what I mean? It's super easy to make that little mistake.
Well, and seeing through this app, like the anatomy, like this is probably why, like, if I'm my first opportunity, it needs to be broadside. That's probably your best.
It definitely is.
Everything's open.
It definitely is. So if we take the guts and everything out of it, so we've got lungs and liver here, right?
Okay.
So another thing you got to look at too in all this, and we'll get more of this on your quartering and angled shots, is you've got a diaphragm that goes right back here as well. And so if you get through the diaphragm and then into one lung or a liver or something of that nature, it could be for a tougher tracking job. So all these angles are going to make a big difference. All right, are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Quartering away shot. So I don't recommend like a quartering two. I don't even hardly recommend for a first time shooter, like trying to do a steep quartered angle, but this is pretty steep quartered angle, all right? Let's pull it back and show me where you would shoot, where you think that you should shoot.
Okay.
And then we'll go check it out.
And I'm already, that's funny, it's like I'm already like processing, but I feel like in the moment I would probably not have that much time.
Correct. Yeah, no, and that is a true statement. Like when it's in the moment, you're thinking, how far is it? How my heart rate's gonna try to beat out of my chest? All these different things are going through your head. And so, but now in a controlled environment, I think this is good for us to like look at it. So that way when you get in that moment, you're like, dude, I remember this. You know what I mean? At least it's some of that muscle memory. Yeah, so wine on it, buddy. That's what I'm talking about.
It's pretty close to where I wanted.
All right, so quartering away angles. First thing that goes through my mind, right, is it's not where I'm going to hit, right?
And I do know that from you, though.
I never look at it and be like, okay, if I want to shoot a quarter, if I want to shoot this broadside, I'm going to shoot it clear up here, right? And so I'm always thinking of where this arrow is going to exit. So, and then trying to get as much of the vitals through the middle of that section as you can think of. So here, it's, as far as if you look at, if this was a full body elk, you're going to come out probably on the other side. I'm going to say somewhere probably up in here, probably.
Okay.
It's going to be, because he's quartered pretty good right here. So I don't think this is a terrible shot at all, is what I'm saying. Like, you're going to clip back along, but you need to make sure you get this onside lung. Because the other lung, it's going to destroy at this angle, but you need to make sure you get onside lung. If you shot back in here, like at guts or even, you know, liver's kind of lower. But if you did that, I would be a little bit concerned, like that's probably not the shot that we want to take. We weren't going to want to wait for a little more broadside shot. But yes, I think you did a great job here, but just always think of that. Always think about, where is this going to exit? And there's been times that I've been drawn back and I'm just like holding on his body and he's quartered and I'm like, that's way too far forward because I'm just shooting for the crease, you know? And so it's really, really hard to try to shoot an animal further back than you think so. But at times, it's sometimes, you know, necessary to do. This is the other thing. Like, if there's a shot that you don't feel like you're not 100% sure where that arrow is going to go, don't shoot it.
Yeah, don't take the
Just
shot.
don't shoot it. Yeah, just that's the big thing.
Yeah,
That's
because
big
this is
takeaway.
a straight line. In theory, this target is, but I mean, he could be bent.
Yeah.
To make it even harder.
And two, there's so much, and I've had so many times that elk postures and he puts his front shoulder back, either because it's on some higher ground, whatever it may be.
So it pushes.
It really pushes your line. Yeah. So you're like, he gets that front shoulder back, and they're going, my goodness, that means am I supposed to shoot clear back in here? You know what I mean? So there's a ton of different scenarios that you can go through on the way the elk is positioned at the time, but this is great practice. Okay, so frontals. These are up to you. Each bow hunter, make your own decision whether you want to take a frontal, whether you want to try it. I would make the decision before you are out in the woods and faced with it, that's for sure. But Roosevelt hunting, we're a lot of close combat, a lot of 15, 7, 3 yard shots. And a lot of times they're going to come in looking for you, and so they're not going to always give you that broadside angle. So the frontal's been a shot that we've actually adopted and done really, really well with. But the biggest thing is you can't get cocky with it, and you've got to know your means, and you've got to know the angle that the elk is. So I'm going to shoot where I would shoot on this elk. This elk is quartered just a little bit too much. I would rather it be a little more frontal, but I'm gonna kind of just go through what I would do in this scenario. That was a good shot. All right, so this dead nuts target doesn't have the anatomy thing, like the cool thing on this style yet for the frontal style. So what a lot of people are doing, what I tell people is I'm shooting where blonde meets the mane. And so that's a lot of times the angle that I want. This is quartered pretty hard to me, so I really hugged this shoulder on this side. So this is called the thoracic opening, is what they call it. You also have the sternum that runs right down here, right? So I don't want to hit dead center on this, or else you're going to be hitting a pile of bone. There's openings on each side of the shoulder. You can see the shoulder here, and so you can see the shoulder blade come here. So there's openings on each side of this animal that you actually have a window that's about as big as a small basketball. It's a little bit bigger than a softball on an elk. But always things you've got to think about on these animals is a lot of people are like, well, I'll shoot him, right down here. That'll get right down through there into the goodies. His lungs are clear here. His lungs are way back up in here. So you got to take the anatomy of the elk and then you got to cut it right down the center. And so when I'm shooting in broadside, think about a broadside elk. I want it to be right down the center of that elk to get the most lung area that I can. Same is crucial with the frontal shot. I want to get as much arrow down that elk's body as I can in those lungs, in those bigger organs, in the vital spots. So this is, like I said, a little hard of a quarter here because you don't have a very big window to shoot for, but it would actually it would work in a situation like this. So I think it's a good teaching moment. And so there's been a few animals too, like I'll reference some right now where we've shot frontal and when you hit that thoracic opening, that animal usually goes less than 200 yards.
He's down, he's down, he's down, he's down.
And is done. I mean, it is devastating. Blood loss, huge, usually. I've had a couple times where they've went almost a mile. I was hunting. I was hunting with Dirk and Corey, and anyway, we had an elk go clear over, and I shot it. I thought I hit him just perfect, but I didn't get the most penetration because I was a little bit too far towards the sternum, so my arrow only penetrated that much inside the thoracic opening, and he went further than we thought he would, but it was only one arrow that it took. But anyway, so there's tons of different scenarios, but this is from my school of learning. I've seen a lot of them shot like this. I've actually been shooting this shot for quite a while, so it does work, but don't get cocky with it, and make sure that it's less than 25 yards. I shot one in Colorado one time when he was bugling, and that elk was right at that 30-yard mark. And it was bugling, so it was preoccupied when I shot, and so I knew it wasn't gonna turn on me or something, but it just, you never know. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're both gonna shoot the elk right now. And we're both we're not gonna talk about where we're gonna hit it and everything. We're both gonna shoot it, and then we're gonna go up and explain, this is why I held here, this is why I did this.
Yeah, and it's not that this is where we're trying to hit, but when talking earlier, like you guys talking about how
correct.
the way to miss, we're trying to display that. We're gonna show where in the past, us or people with us have hit elk, just off of slight misses, and it's still been very fatal or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
So let's make a memory here. Okay, So, 2 arrows. Both great arrows, both good arrows.
Yours, why'd you shoot?
So here's what I was going for there, because I want to explain real quick, like if the lower that you shoot, so here's brisket, right? This is the bottom of the elk, right? So if you think about an elk's cavity, right? The biggest part of the cavity is going to be right where you shot. Yeah. So you've got the most area actually to go through and the most lung capacity, right? So what I was trying to do there is we shot one, Levi Morgan shot one right where I just hit this. It was quartering a little bit.
I would say, you know.
And the reason that I shot here, it's a little bit back further than the just very bit. It's a little bit back more than just right in the crease, is because elk, I mean, when they move their shoulder just a little bit, it can cover up huge spots. So this was interesting. We'll show a couple things of Levi's shot, your shot on bull that you shot, and kind of this is a little bit kind of where they shot, and these animals went 70 to.
Yeah, I think mine went
30 to 70.
30 yards, watched them tip over. Levi's went 70 yards, watched them tipped over.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about this shot, and again, I think both of them were just like a little bit inside, but they penetrated about as much as my arrow did here. And both times on impact, we were like, oh no. You know, and then both times bull ran out, tipped over dead.
Anytime you have a lot of arrow hanging out, when it turns, you always get that whole
and I don't know if
pit in your stomach.
A lot more tissue right here. Ribs are thicker right here. I don't know
100%.
What it is. Like, you're not hitting a big flat surface. You're hitting through a little bit of leg muscle.
Correct.
Right here as well. But both times it was like center heart. And so I guess point being is like that heart's a lot more, like it's a lot lower than you think. I would think you're even high side of heart here.
Yeah, it's tough to tell with this elk, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then your shot, okay, it's a great shot. It gives you a lot of room for variance. You're in the back portion, I would say, of the lungs, because they go quite a ways forward, but you always want to stay away from that armored plate.
And the reason that I aimed here is just, so this is always my aiming reference actually. It's like on crease, center. Like we talked about aiming, or Chase and Trent talked about aiming references earlier. That's always my aiming reference, and usually don't hit it because you're off by a yard or two or whatever. And I hit a bull last year, like it was the exact yardage that I thought it was. I hit it on my aiming reference, and initial thought is like, that elk should be dead within 100 yards within seconds, right? And that was not the case. It was raining, so we were tracking, and so I actually was able to sneak up on that elk in its bed, and it was alive an hour, I think an hour and 15 minutes after I shot. And so the reason I want to do this and show this is like, even when you think like, we say like 12 ring or whatever, still like really give it time, still really track carefully. Like I very easily could have bumped that elk and maybe never found it. So it's just like, that was the main thing I learned there.
Oh, dude.
Even when you hit them right where you're aiming, give it an hour if you can.
All right, so we're gonna go through again, and Noah's gonna shoot a shot that we have reference of, that we can show you some video reference of it, and I'm gonna shoot a shot that we have video reference of. One a good scenario, one a not so good scenario, but let's see if we can hit this where we're aiming here. Grip it and rip it. Okay, let's go through some scenarios here. What I do want to do right off the bat is go, this arrow's going to be about that much penetration.
And you're going to be doing this when it's running away.
Most likely that arrow's going to be just broke off. So this is a front shoulder shot, and it's the dreaded, like you can say I shoot an 80-pound bow, I shoot this broadhead, I shoot, 650 grains, all those different things, and I've seen them all, guys. I've seen them all. If you hit that front shoulder, it does not work at all. So you've got a scapula here that actually you can kind of punch through. It's the thinner part of the front shoulder. But if you hit where that bone comes up, it's a done deal. You're going to hear a big whack, and you're going to see your arrow either break off or fall out. So
still do your due diligence, because obviously you never know.
You don't ever know. You don't.
It's generally...
It's tough. It's like you have to always do your due diligence, but it's at the same time like I have never seen it and just like happen, because honestly, these elk are huge. Obviously, their cavities are big, and you're only getting an inch of penetration. So it just doesn't work all the time. But anyway, just try to stay away from that dreaded front shoulder, but still place those shots up front.
So the reason I shot this one here, and I meant to hit probably right here, a little more left, is like, knowing anatomy and everything. And like we talked about earlier, my aiming reference on the one I shot right here last year was right here. And it was one of those deals where like I was standing up on a stump and just came out of my peep or something, just didn't make a perfect shot. And I remember telling Trent, the first thing I told him was, it wasn't perfect, but I saw exactly where I hit, and I'm like, he should be dead. And it was one of those where we gave that bull like, what, 4 or 5 hours?
Quite a while.
Trevor also shot
Trevor shot one too.
So we gave it a bunch of time because we were like, he should die if we play it right. And then we got on to tracking, and this bull went 100 yards, you know, with the arrow right here. And
but it also wasn't tons of blood.
No, but it was also clear-cut blood, which is another thing. Is like sometimes that's hard.
Clear-cut blood and a higher shot.
Yeah.
So their cavity's filling up, especially if they don't go very far. Their cavity's going to fill up, but it's got to come. That blood's got to fill up before it can blow out that hole.
And when we say clear-cut blood, for people who don't understand, is like tracking is different in all conditions, right? Like blood shows up on different surfaces way better than other surfaces. So like tracking through a clear-cut, we've noticed that a lot of times you're only seeing a third of the blood that you would see on other surfaces, just because it's going
almost
on the
anywhere.
grass that's this high up,
yeah.
And it's just like you're just seeing a lot less of the blood. But that bull went 100 yards and was dead, and I mean he was
he died.
Up and, but that's why we talk about like picking the best aiming reference in the middle of everything. So if you miss 6 inches this way, you're good. If you miss 6 inches this way, you're good. 8 inches could be a long 2 days. You know, 8 inches left on this side, you'll know pretty quickly that you're out of the fight. But
and at the same time, we're not talking broadheads on this whole video. We're not talking anything. We're not talking expandables versus fixed. None of that. We're just talking about shot placement. So let's do a frontal shot. Let's show that shot that you had on that one elk. And all right, so now we've got a quartering 2 shot. So I'm going to shoot a shot that's not great, and Noah's going to probably shoot another shot that's not great. So at least, and we'll show some reference and videos of what happened in those scenarios. All right.
We have a couple references.
The frontal.
For this one. This is that angle that you almost don't want to shoot.
It's just too much sometimes, because if over here, I mean, if I shoot any to the right over here, I'm just clipping the front of his shoulder. It's not going to hit anything vital. If I go left, it's going to hit his other shoulder blade. There's a very, very small window in there, but at the same time, this is good for reference and good to show people. Like right here, this is the front of his shoulder blade. So see this big bulgy part? You hit him there, doesn't work out.
We've hit a couple through the years. Right here.
Yep.
And it's just that
just
shoulder
doesn't work.
This is that one where it's like your best option here is what Trent showed earlier, sneaking it right in front, but still you just have a tiny little window right there.
Very small.
And if you're not very, very confident, we wouldn't recommend it. And so we've shot a couple right here. And then the reason I shot this is actually that big Roosevelt I shot that we ended up getting, obviously.
The next day.
Yeah, the next day. I made a lapse in judgment, and I thought the bull was less quartered than he was, to where it was that quartered towards, to where if I put it right on the crease, I would still be catching back lungs. And I just made a mistake. The bull was quartered more than I thought. I hit practically right on the crease, but it just caught like back of liver through the guts.
And what you're looking at here, like if you look at that angle and you look at the position of the elk, this arrow is going to come out in his hip, in his back leg, in his back hip.
It came out right in the middle of the ham.
Yeah. And it just like, it's so easy to look at the elk and be like, oh, that's broadside.
Yeah.
And then you look back, because we film of all our stuff, and you're like, oh man, he was quartered way more than I thought.
Almost
you know?
Every time. Yeah.
A lot of the times is what happens, and so just trying to really, really remember that in your head, and especially when you're not filming your hunts, and you go to your buddy and be like, dude, I smoked him right behind the shoulder. Why is he not here?
I don't know what happened. Must have been the broadhead.
Correct. Or else, and no, it's the arrow that came out of its butt. You know what I mean? So all these are good references to use and everything, but yeah, this is just another scenario. All right, so in closing, guys, I hope some of this was a good takeaway for some of you, and the references. Like, we're not perfect. We're going to go through the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that we've done, and we want to show you, because if there's any chance that you can learn from it, it's going to help in your hunting future way down the road. So don't get cocky with these. Don't get cocky with any of your shots. Make sure that when that bow goes off, that you know the position of that animal and where that arrow's headed. So
yeah, I'd say the biggest thing I've learned is like, give them the most time you can. It's really hard. You're so excited, even when you think you smoked them. Especially like you kind of touched on earlier, when you're filming, we have the luxury of going back and reviewing exactly where we hit, and even with that, a lot of the time we're still
So
wrong
many times
on how long it took it to actually expire.
Yep.
So that would be the biggest thing. It's like, even when you think you smoked them, give them the most time you can without obviously risking meat loss or rain or whatever.
Whole different video, but yes,
Yeah.
it's all that stuff from when the shot goes off to where the animal gets hit is a whole different video that we should cover, and maybe we'll look into Elk Week or something.
Yeah.
We have Elk Week coming up in July, guys, so get ready for that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this one, and I hope in some way it helped you guys.